Look, let's talk about Gareth Southgate. Because earlier this week he announced his squad for the upcoming Nations League matches against Italy and Germany. Look, you know, it's not long until Qatar. I mean, we're counting down the days, quite frankly. I'm surprised we haven't got a clock on it. But is this a real indicator as to who will be on that flight to Qatar?
Pretty much. I mean, was it October the 24th? He's got to give in a 30-man squad. It'll probably be a 26-man squad with sort of FIFA, you know, increasing it from the 23, whether because of the weather, because of player welfare, time of the season and all that. So, look, there will always be a Theo Walcott, as we saw in 2006, who comes up on the rails. I think if you look at the current squad, I think the players you're looking to come back in, and maybe a Sancho and a Rashford, players like that. Ben White, who's playing today at right back, and we know how much Gareth Southgate loves collecting right backs. But in a way, he's been so slightly unfortunate because he was playing well at centre half, and he's having to fill in at right back. You could imagine a player like him would push back in, but the main names are known. But for a squad like this, I guess it's about Bellingham starting in midfield, which everyone wants to see, particularly, unfortunately, with Calvin Phillips missing the squad with injury, shoulder injury. And then other players, and then Ivan Toney taking his chance up front as well, because after Tammy Abraham, England need another understudy to Harry Kane, particularly with Callum Wilson not completely fit.
Let's stay with the theme of Bellingham then. Does he need to be a regular starter, do you think, for England? For sure.
I think he has to start. I mean, you just look at him, you see his performances for Dortmund in the Champions League. He's 19. He's so mature. He makes the right decisions. And it's very interesting when you talk to current players and former players about Bellingham. They just rave about Bellingham. And the great thing is, all this praise, and he's very down to earth, very professional. And I just think he has to be in that midfield, particularly with the Phillips injury as well, alongside Declan Rice.
I remember interviewing him last season, and he's a wonderful boy. With a really mature head on his shoulders. He's hard-working. He's hugely valued by Dortmund. There's this widespread perception that Dortmund are going to surrender him to the Premier League next year, but they value him and they see him as already, despite the fact that he's very young, they see him as a senior player in that dressing room, and they see him as an inspirational figure as well. And he buys into that, and there's a real responsibility about his game that he translates to the pitch, and that's why he's so confident with his performances.
I want to talk about this idea of Gareth Southgate always picking players on form. We've got to mention Harry Maguire, but is he going with form? Because is he saying his England form is fantastic? Or, you know, can you see the thinking behind? I mean, like you say, he loves a defender. 12 of them are in there, and Harry Maguire gets that call up.
And he's got 8 players in there who've got experience of playing right back for club or country. So yeah, Gareth does love a right back. No, I just think when Southgate took the job, went from caretaker to permanent manager, he said, "I will pick on form, not reputation." And we sort of looked at him and said, "Are you sure?" And it's difficult. But your point is very salient. The fact that he will pick on England form. So that's why when there was some criticism of Jordan Pickford with Everton, and people saying, "Well, he's not England's number one." Okay, Ramsdale, Pope, and Henderson have been making individual cases, but Pickford was always going to be Southgate's first choice because he's never let England down. Ditto Harry Maguire. Maguire's having a torrid time at Manchester United at the moment, but when he turns up for England, he's almost sort of freed and he plays. And he's not let Southgate down.
Eric Dyer, good choice to be back in the fold.
It'd be terrific. I think it's fantastic. I mean, look, I'll show you very quickly 2 papers. The first one is the Sunday Mirror. That's Neil Moxley. He actually buys into what you've been alluding to, Vic, because he says that it's a risky game staying loyal to all of these players. You can see Harry Maguire on the right side of the frame there, and Ben White, one of 3 players at the bottom now. Obviously, Maguire's position's been taken by Lisandro Martinez for Manchester United, whereas Ben White, who's played every game so far this season for Arsenal, who've had a wonderful run, he's not in the squad. A lot of people surprised by that. I hand over to you because Neil's saying maybe he's wrong to focus on what these players do for England, and maybe he's sending out the wrong message by having a system where he doesn't pick on form, contrary to what he had said when he took over 5 years ago.
I mean, if you look at centre-half, Gay's been playing well, Tomori's been playing well, so you can understand why Southgate would like them. I do feel a bit for Ben White. I just think that he is, again, with England, he's not played that much for England, but when he's been there, he's been impressive around the camp as well. So I think there is a little bit of sympathy for him. It'll be interesting to see how well he plays against Brentford today. But yeah, this notion of picking on form, You're always going to get a Maguire and a Pickford who are slightly out of form. Their club, Pickford obviously is injured, but he's been back in form at Everton. But Southgate will look first and foremost with how they've done for him, and they've never let him down.
Marcus Rashford. OK, what's happening there? Will he be on that plane?
I think he will be.
Okay.
I think because it's 26, because Rashford offers... Well, first he was coming back into form before this injury.
Yeah,
Southgate's always checking on him. Steve Holland is at Old Trafford a lot to watch Rashford playing this form. He's so admired around the camp by the staff, by the players. We know what a role model he is in the country, but he's obviously not going to get picked on that. He's got to keep delivering for country when he plays, and also for Manchester United. I think with the Manchester United striking situation at the moment, Ronaldo's obviously played recently, Martial's been injured, but Rashford's done well there. And we know what a player he is when he's confident and he's through one-on-one with the goalkeeper. It's terrific. Plus also he can play, you know, two of the wider positions if Southgate goes with a 3-4-3.
What about Jadon Sancho?
Yeah, why would you not have him in there? So much more confidence about the way he plays. I think that he was going through a bad run of form. And when United were struggling, before this uptick in form, there were lots of people making sweeping statements about all of the players and not actually taking into account the quality of a Marcus Rashford or a Jadon Sancho and their youth as well. Rashford's only 24. You know, Sancho is a young player who had been excelling at Dortmund before he was sucked into that vortex, if you like, at Manchester United that had seen everyone's form go down. But he's a wonderful player. I will be staggered if he doesn't go to the World Cup.
OK, and then you did touch on it. Ivan Toney, that makes a lovely story, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And I mean, the sort of slightly experienced old England football hat, I always look for, can they take penalties?
Yeah,
and Ivan Toney
can
certainly take a penalty. Eric Dyer, as we know, he's pretty nerveless. He can take a penalty and a free kick as well. So absolutely, Ivan Toney deserves this. And this is something that Todd Bowley should realise. Look at Ivan Toney's journey through football, playing through all the four leagues. The pyramid matters. It matters for the national team, and it matters for... I mean, Ivan Toney would walk into that Chelsea team at the moment, centre forward of his quality, his confidence. He can play up front on his own. He can link with Mbeumo, as we've seen so effectively with Brentford. I think it's a great story. You know, started out Northampton, played, again credit to Peterborough United with how well he developed there as well. So no, I think it's a fantastic story, and I'm looking forward to talking to him next week.
Just finally, before you go then, and before we all go, you wrote a book on it, didn't you? 50 Years of Hurt, I think, or you know, you're part of that story for sure. Are we going to win it this time? Do you think we can go and get on and get that World Cup?
I think if Southgate's brave at key moments, which he wasn't in the Euro final last year when Italy turned the tide and he got outthought by Mancini, if Southgate has learnt from that, he's courageous and he starts Bellingham, goes on the front foot. England have a trophy in this collection of exceptionally talented players. Southgate's got to prove he can actually show the ability in matches, in game management, to win it.
Didn't quite say yes, but I'll take that as a yes. We might just do it.